evening. Welcome and good evening. I'm Dr. Michelle Dossett, and I'll be your host and moderator this evening. This is just a reminder that this presentation is being recorded. We have tonight a wonderful panel of healers and teachers who will be sharing on a variety of different practices. I'll be introducing each panelist who will speak for up to 10 minutes on their area of expertise. If they have a website or somewhere where you can get more information, that will be posted so that you can see that while they're speaking, if you want to follow up on that. I'll be showing our panelists colored pieces of paper to help them stay on time. And then after everyone has spoken, we'll have time for Q&A. If you have questions that come up while you're listening to a speaker, I invite you to write those into the Q&A box. It's at the bottom of your screen. So if you hover your mouse over the bottom of the screen, you'll see Q&A with a little bubble there. And if you click on that, you can type your questions in. You are probably right now seeing a bunch of different tiles with all of us. If you would like to only see the active speaker, you can go up to the upper right corner to the view function and put it on the speaker view. I'm going to encourage our panelists to stay on the gallery view so that you can see me while you're speaking. So let's begin with a prayer, and then we'll hear from our speakers. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, beloved friend, God, great masters, saints of all traditions, we lovingly bow before you and invoke your presence this evening. Help us to open our minds and hearts to your healing energy. Help us to take from this evening what we each need on our own healing journeys. And help us to use that in ever greater service to thee. We are ever thine, be thou ours. Om, peace. Amen. Our first speaker this evening is Mary Kretzman. Mary moved to Ananda in 1978 at age 23, and in 1990, she was asked to direct the Ananda Healing Prayer Ministry when it had 35 dedicated healers. The ministry has now expanded to over 1,100 souls around the world, helped along by regular newsletters, 2 books, a couple of CDs, articles, seminars, a healing blog, and now daily Zoom prayers for planetary healing. In fact, Mary's going to need to leave us a little early this evening because she's going to be doing some of her planetary healing prayers on another Zoom event. She's going to be speaking tonight about Yogananda's healing techniques, and I'm just going to show, she does have a couple of CDs as well as a couple of books. This is one of them, and you can purchase those if you're interested at crystalclarity.com. Take it away, Mary.
Thank you, Michelle, and welcome. Hello to everyone. I'm happy to be here, and I think I'll just jump right in, of course, with when you look at Yogananda's teachings on healing, you'll realize a great body of it is on self-healing. And I think that's partly because we have the responsibility to help ourselves put one foot in front of the other. And the other reason is I think a lot of people are actually concerned about their own health. And of course, to balance that with prayer, it's expansive for us to care about others. So there's a balance there in his teachings. One of his affirmations, I think, embodies kind of the overarching aspect of his self-healing. And it's often, this affirmation has been very helpful. I often have given it out. In fact, one woman wrote in the comments on a video I made of it, said, I mean, not even on the video, she contacted me, but she wasn't part of Ananda. She wasn't a friend on Facebook. She wasn't anything. So it was actually in that other column that I never check on Facebook, but one day I did, and there was this message. She said, "Thank you for making that video. It's only a 3-minute video." And she says, "It changed my life." A 3-minute video. But why is that? It's because in that video, Master has us first lift our mind here. So whatever we're dealing with, and whether it's depression or discouragement, by first lifting our mind here, this is why I believe it could change someone's life. If they're in the dumps about whatever their issue is, and then they lift their mind here and then add vigorous will, it would start the wheels turning to change their lives on whatever the issue is. So I'm going to lead you in it, partly for your own self-healing, but also as a tool to offer others, because it has that power, even if someone is not fully on the path, to start to use those principles from Master. And it goes like this: you raise your mind to the point between the eyebrows. And he says even to push in. It was that important. He said, push your finger in there and then release it. So you're thinking of that point between the eyebrows. And it goes, "I will with my own will, which flows from the divine will, to be healthy, to be well, to be prosperous and spiritual, to be well, to be well. I will with my own will, which flows from the divine will, to be healthy, to be well, to be prosperous and spiritual, to be well, to be well. I will with my own will, which flows from the divine will, to be healthy, to be well, to be prosperous and spiritual, to be well, to be well." And so you can feel that balance of willpower and for all areas of life. And he says it's good to do that affirmation every day. And early in the prayer ministry, when people would call in, they sometimes would have a very, very passive way, like, "Please pray for me." And I'd start to give them homework. And I try to listen to what they were open to, where they'd say yes. And so if there was an affirmation or a prayer they could be doing daily, just to get that wheel turning, because healing depends on the power of the healer and the receptivity of the patient. So their self-healing would also enhance them receiving the prayers. And there's some interesting ways we look at it that Yogananda gave us, many ways of self-healing. And the deepest one we could say, and of course we would say, is devotion, and then also Kriya Yoga. And when you think of Kriya Yoga, it's clearing the issues in the spine primarily before they've sprouted, and we bring those things up to those seeds up to the spiritual eye and roast them. And then he also gave us self-healing and healing prayers, because when you think of it, what is that for? That's for the karma or the seeds that have already sprouted. So his grace and kindness comes in both ways to help free the soul. And then where our prayers come in for others is, I was thinking about this. I was just at the chapel and praying about this class, and I realized, but sometimes when people are the most down, that's when they're the least able to pick themselves up and get going with all that self-healing. So that's where the prayers come in. It's our kindness, and it's also our good karma to pray for people who are going through something. And so it's this balance always of self-healing and healing prayers. Another thing, years ago, I was in India in 2007, and I was telling an Indian man who he was taking us someplace. We're in the car, so you have that normal conversations in the car, and I said, "I love to see that Shiva Nataraj dance, in so many Indian homes, and it's very prominent, and so it's Shiva dancing in a big circle, and maybe it's flames around him or something." He goes, "Oh yes, we all have the Shiva Nataraj." He says, "But who we really love is Ganesha." And I thought, I tried to think back to Swami's book, and I tried to get in tune with it. Like, what would Swami say? Why would he say that they love Ganesha? And I realized it's that Ganesha removes the obstacles. Like, that would be the miracle of healing prayer. Whoop, it's gone. Or the miracle of affirmation, and whoop, it's just gone. But Shiva, he said, Shiva might throw the logs in our path to make us stronger. And I had to think of that. Like, when we realize how our karma comes up, sometimes there may be lifetimes where God's grace has removed something many times, and it's encouraged us to stay on the path and stay cheerful about life, you might say, in the face of obstacles. But finally there comes a time, and maybe it's our astrology and it's just our karma, where that karma is not budging. We have to get strong enough to get over it, deal with it, and go through it. And that's the Shiva aspect, of God's grace. And in any tradition, any healing, you'll see that aspect, that sometimes God is there to comfort you or strengthen you. And other times, God's miraculous grace comes through and removes the obstacle altogether. And there's many ways of praying that way. You hear of Catholics will use a novena to Saint Therese, or to Divine Mother with her, all those kind of things. And sometimes you hear miraculous things happen, but sometimes those miracles are of divine support. Similarly, there's a beautiful passage in the teachings of, it's Saint Therese of not Lisieux, the one who had the visions of Christ, that master. Is it right now? Oh my gosh, Trace Newman. So, and Master would talk about how her miracles, her visions were true. Well, there's one passage as a healer that struck me, or as a healing prayer minister, particularly struck me. And it's that when Christ, she could see this, when Christ was at the Sea of Galilee, and many people, throngs were around him wanting healing. And she could see that he was touching everyone who was coming to him. But she could see that only about 1/3 of them, this is Jesus, were actually miraculously healed. And of course, that's amazing. But everyone looked blissful. So that grace of God was coming in, and they all looked equally happy. They just had felt the bliss of the Christ touching them. But some were getting that grace to go through that karma, and others had the karma removed. And Master would say that God will speak through a master to say, when is it right to give that full miraculous healing? And but what was touching to me is that even when that healing, the miraculous healing was withheld, there was still this grace of God blessing the people profoundly. So there's many nuances to healing prayer and to Master's aspects of healing prayers. On another note, many times I'll pray over, this is valuable to healers or healing prayer. One body of Master's work that contains a big percentage of his teachings on healing is the Second Coming of Christ. And I used to read it out of the booklet form, but then now I actually do use the bound book from Self-Realization. But what's interesting is how much, because Jesus healed so much, so Master's teachings on healing are in there. And another interesting little passage was that he talked about how prayer, fasting, even brief fasting, I'm not talking anything wild, helps to lift the mind so that you can pray. He brought in that thing. We only sometimes think it's just traditional, as though they're fasting in order for a tapasya. But no, they were fasting to lighten the body energy, and then that would enhance their ability to pray for others, do healing. Okay, so I see the yellow. Does that mean 1 minute or 2? Okay. So with that, let's send blessings. I'll do a little miniature healing for the whole world. Though I'll just jump right into that to end this off. And if you ever want to, just go to ananda.org/prayers to find out more. But let's hold up this and ask the Divine Mother and all our masters to bless this world, bless all of Mother Nature, the oceans, the rivers, the skies, the birds, the creatures. Just think of the channel song and all of that being blessed. It's flowing through you from the masters, blessing the whole world with light and grace and healing. And then let's also hold up all of humanity, that their spines may be lit and they may be drawn even momentarily to the spiritual eye and to the heart center for divine love, divine wisdom. Lift them now. Whoever is praying now, may they be blessed by grace. May they be lifted, and may they be lifted into dharmic action that blesses them and blesses others. Let's send out Om. 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 Peace. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mary. That was wonderful.
Bless you all.
Our next speaker is Victoria Hansen. Brahmatrini Victoria has been leading the Sacramento Healing Prayer Ministry now for almost 20 years. She has found that Yogananda's quote, "Praying for others is the greatest service we can give," rings true for her. She leads a prayer circle gathering on Zoom every Wednesday from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. She'll be talking about how prayer is so important, not only in service to others, but also for our own healing. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you. Well, I like to say that my first reaction to being part of this panel was, oh, I'd make a lousy example, of how to self-heal, because I've never had so many health issues as I have in my life these last 2 years. So I felt like I'd be a laughing stock, everyone sees me walk on my walker. And so I thought about that. And then I realized what the mistake I was making. It's not about health. It's about God. God is first. And since these health challenges, I believe that my life has become calmer, that I've been more peaceful. So in that way, I feel successful. And then because of this, I'd like to share my story, my healing journey with you. It was about 1.5 years ago that I was diagnosed with a couple of infections and other tissue disorders that helped explain my exhaustion that I was dealing with. And then during this time also, I was having pelvic floor issues. I had surgery for this, and it didn't work. So then just a few months ago, I had a total right hip replacement, which was successful. I did get a new hip, but I came out with my surgical leg being 1 inch longer than my other leg. So I limped more after my surgery than before my surgery. But, then plus, in addition to this, my right knee issues were more pronounced more than ever. My right leg sort of bowed out below the knee. It bowed out and then made my knee turn inward so that I became knock-kneed. So I felt like I was just dealing with a lot of unlucky karma. But things started to change pretty quickly. My surgeon insisted that I do not use any shoe lifts or any correctives, but that I must instead let my body do the healing on its own. But he said, just let your body do what it needs to do. So he signed me up for physical therapy, and he said, I better take it very seriously because my body had a lot of work to do. Well, I certainly didn't believe him at first about this, my body just knowing. But then after a few days, I thought, well, that's delightful, actually. A doctor feels this way. And so I like that idea that it wasn't actually the surgeon's fault or bad karma or just unluckiness, that instead it was the functionality of my pelvic area. That because of my arthritis in my hip and my knee, it caused so many compensations of my body that I was quite tweaked, I guess I could say. So I found that the first 2 months after surgery that walking on my new hip, that it was very painful, but mostly because of not the surgery at all, which was amazing. But it was the spasms that my body was trying to learn how to readjust to, because I was just walking so totally different. But now these are gone, and I'm thankful for his wisdom because I see great improvements. So the beautiful part about this, though, that it turned things around for me. Instead of trying to fix things, I had to let the innate wisdom of my body take over. And somehow in doing that, I tuned into what was trying to happen. So when my knee would turn in and my foot would turn in, and I'd say, oh, it hasn't learned yet. And I would just sort of help self-correct it, not be angry that it wasn't working, and still isn't working right, but much, much better. So I just learned to work with this better. And I like the way Paramahansa Yogananda, in his book, Scientific Healing Affirmations, he calls introspection scientific self-analysis. He said it's the cornerstone of facing up to our mistakes so we could change ourselves. So I thought, okay, well, this is how I need to start. This is where I need to start, to take account of how my body got this way. You know, what did I do? And what's happened? So the nature of my physical issues that I'm dealing with, for the most part, it doesn't allow me to sit very long or stand very long or walk very long. So that's pretty much limits my activities and my life. But what it does provide me with is a time that I needed to slow down, to really slow down. And I knew this was supposed to be a blessing, and I could feel it. You know, by then I was starting to feel that this is a gift from God. And I knew that all these tests that I was going through, they needed to be overcome. So what did I do? I prayed and prayed a lot. It was just my nature to do that, but never so seriously as I have I done it since. So it's been said that the most effective way to pray is to pray with the power of a saint and the faith of a child. And so I tried that. I tried praying always, praying without words, with just from my heart, the language of my heart. I prayed using Paramahansa Yogananda's Whispers from Eternity, the book of poems of prayer demands. I prayed with Mary Kretzman online for a couple of months using her 1 hour, I think it's about an hour visualization on healing. And it was about healing yourself and about healing others. And from this, I gained so much devotion and trust. Then, of course, I also used Yogananda's healing techniques and affirmations. So I felt I was doing pretty well spiritually for myself. And next I thought, okay, so what do you do about it though? So I just tried everything medically I could think of. I used allopathic medicine, homeopathic medicine, naturopathic doctor, a new doctor who was very expensive, but it all helped. And it was just turning the energy and helping me to make resolve to get, you know, for my prayer demand to be powerful. So yet then at the same time I was dealing with a downward pull. It was like a subconscious thoughts that were bothering me. It was something like, is it all worth the effort? And how can I really do this? And, you know, my two sisters had passed away a year prior to all this first happening. And I felt that maybe I was picking up ancestral thoughts of discouragement that they went through, because I would feel like them. So I knew as I was struggling with this, that I had to work with positive thoughts, because this is the only way to, you know, put out the equal and opposite. I knew the will vibration had to be stronger than what I was battling, the negative thoughts, the disease, whatever. And I knew that the deeper, more chronic a problem is, that is not just that you've been bad or it's bad karma, but that's just all the more stronger that you need to put out the energy for, you know, to be determined and to have faith and to use your effort to overcome all that. So I just reasoned with these things and just felt them very deeply. And I realized we all know too, problems aren't solved on the same level, that they were created. So I needed to put out more energy. in the capacity that I could. So I began praying for right attitude and surrendering to God's divine plan. What does God want for me? I was tuning into these things because I know I wanted to find the causative factors to heal. And I wanted my karma to be mitigated and transformed, but I knew, along with that, I had to have an expanded awareness. I had to have an understanding, a deeper understanding of why this was happening. So as I prayed for this, as I was praying for myself, I became aware that I wanted to pray for others even more than myself. Like I was tired of praying for myself. So that was my healing journey. I know now that I won't give up, that I will continue to keep affirming and praying and meditating. But I'd also like to share briefly three ways or groups that you can serve through their prayer ministry yourselves. The prayer council is a smaller group of 30 people, and they pray for people. I give them a letter, and they have 2 or 3 names that they pray for daily for a month's time. And then the next month I send them another one. So this is probably the most committed group, and for which I'm most thankful for too. Then there is the SOS group of almost 100 members who pray for people who are in crises. I contact this group through email and just ask if they pray immediately and as long as it's no longer a crisis. Then every Wednesday, I have a Zoom prayer gathering, and I wonder if that's going to be put up, or do I have to write the link or something, Michelle?
That was posted.
That was pre-posted.
That was posted at the beginning of your talk in the chat.
Oh, wonderful. And this small group has just been so great, a support for me and for everyone in the group, probably because it is so small. So what do I recommend? Get a prayer support group. And for the rest of the time, you're going to have many other people giving you recommendations. So you'll find your way to your own health. God bless you. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Victoria. Just a reminder to our audience that you can post questions in the Q&A. Our next speaker is going to be Chandi Halaman. Nayaswami Chandi has been involved with Ananda for almost 3 decades. She is a certified Ananda yoga and meditation teacher and Ananda minister. Chandi completed her culinary training in 1997 and has been teaching culinary yogic cooking classes for over 25 years. Currently, she's teaching an online vegan and vegetarian cooking class, and she's also working for a private business as a senior health caregiver and is inspiring many of her clients and students in using foods to uplift and heal their spirits. Today, she'll be speaking about healing foods based on Yogananda's teachings.
For some reason, I cannot turn my video on. It's not.
Victoria, can you turn your video off and silence yourself? And we'll see maybe if that helps.
It says the host, you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
All right, well, we'll wait for Hara to activate your video. Chandi, why don't you go ahead and start speaking?
There we go. Thank you so much. It's been a joy to be here in Sacramento and to have the opportunity to again dive in deeply into Yogananda's teachings and also be able to share my background in culinary and merge those together. And tonight, I was beginning to think of what I really wanted to say. It's so vast in the health industry now. You can't even pick up a book, or you go online on the internet, or anywhere you go, you're bombarded by health and healing and food. Food is everywhere. And so what Yogananda did, and it is just so uplifting, and refreshing. His technique is to say to us to go beyond the physical, but go to the spiritual qualities of healing foods. He said, remember, it's not what goes into the body, but what comes out. So that vibration that you share once you've actually eaten the food, it's what you're sharing with the world, and how you set your day and how you set your tone, how your body temple is feeling. So he said to avoid diseases, we have to have a quality of life beyond the physical, and to live in that divine joy through night and day, and eat rightly, meditate, and think rightly. So those were some of the key principles he gave, but also he wrote about the spiritual qualities of food, which many of us already know that, but how it affects your consciousness. About a year ago, I had been involved with a program, and it was very, very sweet, because in this program, they said, go to your refrigerator, go to all your cupboards, take everything out that it's not real food. And actually, my husband and I had already done that, so it was pretty simple exercise for me. But have you really thought about the food that you eat every day? How much real food do you eat? Do you eat packaged food? Do you eat convenience foods because you're in a hurry and you come home and it's, let's just get something on the table? What is it that you are really taking into our bodies? Yogananda talked about 3 psychological qualities of foods. The first one is sattvic. That's developing the moral and spiritual qualities of calmness and nobility. He talked all about prana and bringing that life force into our bodies from our food. That can be through fruits, it can be through nuts, all kinds of butters that are out there now. It's just wonderful to be able to have the expanded way of cooking, but also of eating, and also greens and coconuts and milks and all the different types of milks that we have out there. It's just wonderful. I came across this book. I should have brought this up at the beginning. And this is called Living Radiance. And it is compiled by Craig Roberts, a chiropractor in Ananda Village. And this I've been studying these teachings of Yogananda and healing foods for almost 30 years. And we had lots of different type of pamphlets and this and that through the years over what Yogananda had taught us. But it's so great to have it all in this book form. And some of it, he did not edit this book. There are comments in the book where he talks about the changes of our society today, like in milk and pasteurization processes. So there are updates, but he wanted to keep the vibration of Yogananda very pure from this particular book. And I find it very, very helpful. So there's a link that they're sharing with you on this particular book. But I want to get back to some of the qualities. So we talked about sattvic, and then we talk about rajasic. Rajasic qualities of food is developing that active or worldly, bringing ourselves more outward in the world. So what foods do that? Well, I hate to say it, but onions and garlic. And in our society, onions and garlic, they're just a staple, really. But those qualities of those particular vegetables really pull us out of the spiritual vibration. There's also certain strong spices that we have to be mindful of that change our energy. Tamasic foods. Tamasic foods are foods that are downpulling, that have the tendency to downpull our consciousness through pride, jealousy, greed, and revengefulness. So some of those qualities, I'm not going to really go into all of them. If you have any questions about it, I can, but this is only a 10-minute talk, so I have to keep moving. But some of the other qualities that I found from this book too, that I dove a little deeper on, is nuts. And I've just this last year have found nuts to be almost a staple for me when I need a little protein. And he says that nuts are good for brain power and are good for concentration. So be sure to have, start eating those nuts when you really need a little snack. It's really very helpful. Milk and eggs are for enthusiasm and for dynamic energy. And then he goes in a lot into the fruits. Peaches are for selflessness. Oranges are for banishing melancholy. Grapes are for spiritual love. Bananas are for humbleness. Apple is for self-control. Strawberries for dignity. Pineapple for courage. And cherries for joy. So I'm going to do a little demo here. I have one of our wonderful golden delicious apples that were grown right here in the Ananda community by Nirmala and Dharmadas. And I do this little experiment in my classes where I talk to people about biting into an apple. When you bite into an apple, I want you to close your eyes and visualize biting into this apple and really tasting that and really feeling that vibration that he said of self-control. Now I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to actually cut into this. And I'm going to cut it not into just one piece. I'm going to cut into it so it has two sides to it, or maybe I'll even cut it so it has four sides to it. Now, if this were a little smaller, let me see. If I had this apple and ate it, which one's better? Which one has more vitality? Which one has more prana? Which one gives you that healing vibration? You have to answer that yourself. I know what it is for me. It's the cut one. And the reason it is the cut one is because you're releasing flavors on this side, this side, this side, and this side, versus just biting in, which I cut off my bite, but just one way of biting into the apple. So maybe this will help you a little bit in your eating and also into taking in that deep vibration of the quality of the food. And then also I invite you to join our classes online so that you can learn all about the different ways of creating new vegetarian and vegan cooking, but also through these practices, we are be able to live more vibrantly, more radiantly, at a higher vibration as a channel of blessings to all who we come in contact with. But above all, pray for God's grace. Pray for God's grace when you're holding out the food that you're eating. Help it nourish your body and heal it for whatever your path, whatever your body needs to be able to be sustained and uplifted in the joy and consciousness of all the masters. Joy to you.
Thank you, Chakra. want to invite our next panelist now, Elaine Duncan. Elaine is a psychotherapist who recently moved to California from Washington. She has a full-time practice, but is only licensed in Washington, so she sees her clients via telemedicine. She loves to teach and share whenever she can about ways to reduce stress and anxiety and to have a happier life. Tonight, Elaine will be teaching us how to reduce anxiety and stress through deep breathing, tapping or bilateral stimulation, and positive visualizations. Thank you for joining us, Elaine.
Thank you, Michelle. So I thought I would talk about some sort of generic methods. When I say generic, I mean we've had a lot of talk about our path and Yogananda, and of course that's all wonderful. And in my work as a psychotherapist, I usually, I work with people from a lot of different paths. So I usually choose language that's, pretty generic for people to be able to apply to whatever their beliefs are. One thing I did want to mention is that a lot of this technique comes from my training as an EMDR therapist. And I wanted to put that out because sometimes people have heard of EMDR, but they're not sure it's something they really want to try, or they don't know if it's very good. And I just want to put in for EMDR, not for my services as an EMDR therapist, but just yes. If you're considering EMDR as a trauma therapy, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's unmatched. So it's effective, it lasts, and it's quick. So I can't say enough good about that. But let's go into the how I like to teach about reducing anxiety and stress. And so what I'm going to do is teach three parts to that. Deep breathing, that's nice deep belly breathing. Tapping, which is just basically, bilateral stimulation on the body, back and forth tapping. And then adding positive visualizations. And those are really, really good techniques for reducing stress and anxiety. So deep breathing, let's do that together. When I say deep breathing, I mean a deep belly breath. Usually adults are breathing up high in their chest. They're giving up that deep breathing, that you see the little ones, where their belly comes out. So think about taking in a deep breath and just feeling your belly expand. Don't worry, no one's going to look. So just let your belly expand. And take in that deep breath. And this is really key to letting your nervous system kick into the parasympathetic, the relaxation mode. So on your next inhale, let's take in a deep breath. Notice that deep breath coming and expanding your belly. And just hold it for a few counts and slowly breathe out. Now, let's do a few rounds of that. I'll count to 4. So inhale to the count of 4, hold it to the count of 4, and then breathe out to the count of 4. So in, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out, 2, 3, 4. In again, in, 2, 3, 4, hold it, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Just notice. You can do that as long as you want or need to. If something's especially stressing you out, you're feeling especially anxious, you may want to do that for 15 minutes. Whatever it takes, just nice deep belly breathing. And notice the peace just from that, just from the deep belly breathing. And now I'd like to add the tapping. So the tapping again, you can actually tap anywhere in your body. The idea though is you want it to be bilateral. So for using the video, I like to have folks tap here, on their upper arm so that I can see them and make sure they're still tapping. So you want it to be alternating, tap, 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 tap. And you don't want it to be like beating a drum, and aggressive. This should be very calming. The pace is really up to you, whatever feels right to you. Remember, this is about calming yourself. And almost always, really without exception, people say this bilateral tapping is calming and relaxing. Just the tapping. I think it triggers some primal memories, and just that tap, 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 almost like, mother's heartbeat when we're in the womb. So let's add deep breathing and tapping. Stay focused on your breathing. Usually after you've tapped for a while, you don't have to think about it much anymore. Just goes tap, tap, tap. Real simple. Taking that nice deep breath. Nice deep breath. Hold it to the count of 4. Slowly breathe out. Now notice how you're feeling. Check in with your body, your nervous system. As you're doing this, if you're noticing any thoughts coming into your head, regardless of what those thoughts are about, don't worry, it's okay. Just notice they floated in, let them float out again, like clouds. And all you have to do right now is just be in the present moment. The deliciousness of not having to worry about anything. Just being in the present moment. So let's stop the tapping for just a minute, and I want to talk about positive visualizations now. Most people, you'll hear people talk and use the term happy place. That's my happy place. That's where I want to go. I want to go to my happy place. So I like to use the term peaceful place, which just sounds a little calmer to me than happy place. So imagine a peaceful place, and you may already have one. And for a lot of people, this visualizations, our imagination will just go pop, and it'll just pop something in. It's just right there. But it doesn't always happen that way. So don't worry. It doesn't have to be that way. But just imagine a place. It could be a place that you've loved to go that is very peaceful and calming for you. Maybe it's a place that you think you'd like to go, but haven't been there before, but you'd like to just imagine it. And just bring yourself to that place. Now add the tapping, because this is a hypnotic technique. It actually helps to bring this visualization into muscle memory. So the next time you want to go to your peaceful place, start your tapping, and it'll be easier to bring up the peaceful place. And notice, what do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? Are you with someone? Are you alone? Are you sitting, standing, walking? Just really imagine you're there. And notice again how this feels in your body. Does it feel calm and peaceful? And that clearly is the goal. Every once in a while, when I do this exercise, someone will say, well, it makes me a little tense because I was there with my husband and we had a fight there. So that's not a good place for your peaceful place. Pick another one if that's the case. the idea of this is so that you feel really calm in your body and your nervous system, so be really calm down. So I'm almost out of time, so I'll just leave you with these positive visualizations. You can play with this, and you can do a nurturing place. You can do a protective figure, a strong figure. You can just tap it in and make this all part of one of your team of resources to help calm yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine. These were great tools. I often teach that 4-4 breathing myself, and I've had people be able to break panic attacks using it.
Oh, nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
Our next speaker is Nalini Tininsky, a certified Ananda Yoga instructor, and she's also working on her Ananda Restorative Yoga certification. Holistic wellness and lifestyle. Holistic wellness is a lifestyle she embodies through diet, yoga, meditation, and young living essential oils. And she'll be speaking today about essential oils. Thank you, Nalini, for joining us.
Hello, thank you so much. You're such a wonderful panelist before me. It's so many great tools to help ourselves, and I can only add a little bit like essential oils on top of that. You can use them with affirmations, with the tapping, probably relaxation, even you can add them to your food. And how I was drawn to essential oils overall, we see them like everywhere in the store, and it's like it is a lot there are a lot everywhere, and it's in those essential oils, it's very challenging probably to find something what is really true in them and how they really can help. And for my adventure with them started a few years ago when actually I was watching this, and I mentioned that probably so many times, this BBC production, Hidden Killers in Victorian Area. And you would think that 19th century people were living maybe a little bit more healthy. And that would be probably not the complete truth in the whole sentence. They were using some, what they call hidden killers. And I remember, but I'm not going to that movie. It's just if you want to watch it, just you can probably research on YouTube. But it was very interesting. I was standing one day in Target in that big aisle with the household cleaners. And I was like looking at those bottles and was like thinking, how many hidden killers we have in those bottles? And I decided, okay, you know what? I'm not getting this anymore. And I just walked out. And I think I never went back to Target to buy at least all these things, maybe for toilet paper and some other stuff, but not for any things related to my health anymore. And I also stepped out from the medicine pretty much 100%. And this is, I think, something what is helping me in my journey to self-healing, because the oils is just, this is something, I believe it's a prana from the plants. And they are just put in those bottles and they are here to help us. And I believe that God created this beautiful nature and asked us to live in harmony with the nature, and we can help each other. They are here to help us. And not to say much, it's just, I chose the Young Living for the reason for their high standards of creating those and making those oils. They have this seed to seal standard, which they make them in a way that just they don't use any poisonous substitutes, anything like that. The soil has to be clean and specially prepared, and how they make it, just they have own fields, so they are not using any suppliers. So then if something is out, let's for example, if the frankincense, they didn't have a frankincense tree, they won't make that. They won't go to any supplier and they won't use it, and then they sell it for a cheaper price. they don't do it. There is no frankincense, then they won't make it, the oil from it. And I can mention only because, you know, how to start with the essential oil, especially with Young Living. They just created this beautiful kit. It's like 12 oils included with diffuser, with the hand sanitizer, many different products, what they have in it. And I can mention only few because I can talk probably for hours about this, but I can start with few because the whole kit is actually like essential for just home remedies. You can use them instead of using something else from the CVS. Like for example, lavender, beautiful, oh, what's this? It's a beautiful oil. Probably it's too dark in my house and I don't have a light right now. It's a beautiful oil. I have lavender everywhere in my house. I use pretty much for everything. It's in my nightstand before I go to bed. Even if I wake up during the night, I just put on myself and I can sleep very easy. Just helps me to relax. And when I'm stressing, it's on my desk when I'm working from home. It's in my purse when I am like being bitten by the mosquitoes, I can put on myself and it helps me heal very quickly. So this is, and it's also smells, I like that. It's my, you know, wonderful oil. The other one, what I could mention is a peppermint oil. It's probably also very well known. It's, you know, it's that oil supports the digestive system. I don't know if your moms or your grandmas helped you like long time ago when you had like stomach ache and there was this drops or something with the peppermint. At least that's what I remember I was getting when I was like having tummy ache. But peppermint also is very good when you are like lacking of energy. When, you know, you have to do the energization exercises, you don't feel like it, the energy is low, you can take like few drops, put on your non-dominant hand, rub it in, put on your neck, just inhale. It's a very strong oil, so I wouldn't advise to put very immediately to your nose because that can probably knock you out. But it's very good oil to just get that quick energy for it. The other one, which is one of the signature oils from Young Living, is Thieves. And it's a blend of many different, from the many different plants and many different oils, and it's just wonderful oil. And the history of this oil is very interesting because, you know, we are kind of in the pandemic or epidemic, I don't really know. But, you know, in Europe, like hundreds of years ago, there was the epidemics like quite often, every couple of years, maybe even every year. And there was this group of people who were robbing people who were dead on the streets from their houses. And trust me, there was quite a lot of people like, and they, you know, the troops were cleaning the streets, but they sometimes didn't have enough help. But anyway, it's not important. What is important, they were robbing those dead people and they are not getting sick. And finally they got caught. So the judge asked them, so what you guys doing that you are not sick and healthy? And they said they were putting so many different plants and rubbing them on themselves, and they were protected from all these goodies, like from those dead people. I don't even know, viruses, bacteria, whatever it was. I'm not the medic, so I don't know. And that's Gary Young, the person who started the company, the Young Living Oils. He just spent a few years to recreating this blend to help people, and it's as good as, so they created even the cleaning supplies and the laundry detergents. Everything is based on the Thieves. And even when you make your own cleaning, when you use their cleaning supplies, it's very good because even when you spill something on the floor, you are cleaning the desk or something, and you pretty much can even eat from that, from the surface. You don't have to call 911 for anything like that. And I start my day with glass of water, drop of Thieves, lemon, and honey to just kind of kill that soury taste. There's many oils I could mention: purification, Panaway for just pain relief. And it's, I think, like incorporating the oils in daily life, it's just using them, it's just an amazing experience for meditation, for just overall wellness, because they support our wellness. I'm not saying that you can just go and they will be, they just work different way than pills, and they won't stay in your system. They will be just helping to support your immune, your wellness overall. And I will leave you with that, because I can go and on, and I have like 12 of them, but I won't be telling about that today. It's just not enough time. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you at least understood my foreign, trying to express myself in foreign language. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nalini. That was wonderful. Now I know the origin of thieves oil. I've always wondered how that name came to be.
And none of the other companies can recreate that. That's the weird thing. It's only Young Living has this blend.
Wow. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Yoko Makahilas. Yoko is a licensed physical therapist since 1988, working at a local HMO as a staff PT and at the Radiant Health Center as a co-owner director, with another presenter tonight, Astara. A little more than 20 years ago, Yoko had what she calls a divine wake-up call: to be blessed with an autoimmune dysfunction and lived in chronic severe pain for a few years. Through her own journey of healing, she discovered the inseparable mind-body energy interrelationships that affect all of us. Today, she's totally pain-free and excited to share what she has learned from her own experience, and she'll also be talking today about pranic healing. Thank you, Yoko.
I'm number 5 in the 9 speakers. That means I'm right in the middle, and I am a physical therapist and a yoga teacher. So I wonder if all of you can stand up a little bit to do a little movement to get that energy going. If you move your shoulder to one direction and pelvis one direction, and to jump at the same time, we are going to quickly dissipate some stagnant energy. That's good. Elbow to the side and open your heart solar plexus area. Inhale and then exhale. Do that a few times. Very good. Hands up above the head and then side bending, squishing your spine, each side of the trunk. Big circle, arms down, and have a seat. We've been also looking at the screen for past 40 minutes. So if you would rotate your eyes up to your right, down to the left, in a way counterclockwise, but that wording can be confusing. But do that rotation 10 times. It has that dissipating effect to the eye fatigue. And then use your hands to sweep that energy that came out and throw it in the imaginary fire on the floor, either color green or red. Toss it, Om Swaha, and then rotate the eyes opposite direction, up to your left, down and right, and do that about 10 times. This is the energizing direction for the eyes. So you can listen to us talking for another 40 minutes and rotate. Okay, so yes, I'd love to share with all of you the gold nuggets I have gathered when I was having a difficult time with my autoimmune dysfunction. That Western medicine, what they had offered was medication and injection, and not much of a hope of decreasing the chance of recovery with what I could do. So then I had to go on to the journey of self-healing, and I'd much like Victoria share with you that experience, but even more, I want to share with you what I call the best secret in town, which is pranic healing. And I'm very much interested in showing you how to feel the energy today with your own hands. So first slide up, Mr. Hara, please. So I have brought just only a few slides that I could share in the regular introduction class that I hold for pranic healing. I have an hour instead of 10 minutes. So this is just very small portion of it. Master Cho Kok Sui is the name of the gentleman who has developed this pranic healing. And I just wanted to let you know, in pranic healing, the word master means you are master healer, instead of like we affectionately call Yogananda master. So I don't want to create any type of hesitance or resistance in my calling my energy teachers master. So I just wanted to say that first. And pranic healing is simple, practical, effective energy management system for healing. And I just wanted you to feel that energy in your hands, to experience it yourself. So next slide, Hara, please. So Master Cho Kok Sui, in this one, it's called Grandmaster because he's the founder. He's a Filipino Chinese gentleman with a degree in the chemical science. He's a successful businessman and a philanthropist, and also a spiritual teacher. Experimented with all different types of modalities of healing around the world in different time, and came up with this pranic healing to answer his own question: how I can help dissipate or decrease the suffering of humanity. Everybody gets injured or sick and sometime in our lives, and wouldn't it be nice if our own hands can heal ourselves in adjunct to traditional allopathic medicine? So he has developed this system where it's written like a cookbook type. All you have to do is, just like you can bake a cookie, even though you don't know anything about baking, following the recipes. And then much like it, the pranic healing is a recipe book for different diagnoses to be healed. Okay, so next slide, if you will. The bottom line is that 2 laws of pranic healing include self-recovery and the life force. Self-recovery means that your body knows how to self-correct and then heal itself. It just needs that vital life force, what Yogananda call lifetrons, or ki from Japan, where I came from, or prana. So we use the prana, the vital life force, to help yourself to heal. Another law is the law of balance. And what that means is that if we inhale, we have to exhale. If we eat or drink, we have to go to the bathroom. If we if we use the energy to heal, we have to expel what's used and then bring in the fresh energy again. So with that, let's see if you can feel this energy with your hands. First, there's a minor chakra on our palms. So if you press that with your thumbs, and then fingers point to each other, and then press them, shake your hands. We're sensitizing our hands now. Rotate your shoulders. And be aware of your heart by touching the heart, and imagine the energy meridian reaching to your hands, sensitizing the hands. Bring your hands apart and slowly moving toward each other. And there comes a time when you feel something. If this is a live engaging class, then people can say, oh, I feel some heat, tingling, kind of like electromagnetic repulsion or pressure, something like that. Okay, so I hope you're feeling some of it, that. If you don't, that's okay too. Stationalize one hand, calling it the receptor hand, and then the other one, activating hand. You can do the same thing, bring that hand closer to that hand and see if you can feel that. Okay, wow, that time already? Oh, okay, so move your finger, point the finger and then see if you can point and see the sharpness of that finger, the pressure on the receiving hand, or maybe clockwise rotating it. And that may also change that sensation. You can feel that. Great. So this is the energy that you can use for your own healing. Sweeping is one way, energizing is another. We scan first to see what condition. Let's look at the next slide so we can speedy up. The energy anatomy is a little different in pranic healing to be used for healing. So instead of 7 chakra system, we have the chakra open out to the etheric body, which is the body double, the template of your physical body that opens up, and then it very much doing the expelling and bringing the new energy. So it's rotating in and out. So the energy respiration is happening through this energy system. So, okay, so the energy aura, biofield, inner aura, outer aura, and the health rays, and all these things you're going to learn when, or if you're interested in pursue the education in this energetic healing system. So, I'm sorry, the time is running out. One more thing I wanted to show you is the next slide, where the law of energy. Oh, these are the books that might be interesting to start with your education. And then the last one, the current of it's Ohm's law, not the AUM ohm. The current of electricity, the energy is the amount of power of energy available over resistance. So what I wanted to share with you is all this abundant energy we have in the universe. If we do inner purification and remove the resistance, we have more abundant energy to heal ourselves. So here it is. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Yoko. That was wonderful, very interesting. Great to be able to tune into that energy for ourselves. Our next speaker is Brenda Astar-Augustin, PhD. She's been teaching meditation and yoga for over 20 years at the Ananda Temple, UC Davis Medical Center, Dignity Health, and several corporate and business environments. Educating students about the science and art of yoga engages their entire brain for greater integration with their body and lifestyle. She will provide a few tips for how gentle movement and breath can enhance your health, vitality, and awareness, and strength and stamina accessible from the subtle body, which contains the chakras. Thank you, Astara.
Wow, we are all tuned up. This has been lovely, elevating all of our senses into higher consciousness. And I too have some slides to share, so I hope that this will activate for me to share. Yes, it will. Thank you so much, Hara. Appreciate that. And let me start from the beginning. Here we go. So chakras. It is Sanskrit for spinning wheel of light, and it was really beautiful. Thank you, Yoko, for tuning up our hands so that we could really feel the energy chakras in the hands. And then oh sorry, I have these slides showing. Oh, sorry. Wait, sorry about that. I was trying to get rid of the subtitles. So so that we could work with the chakras also, because the spinning wheels of light, what we're doing is we're activating those, and so they're a delicate, the subtle energy is considered to be so delicate or precise as to be difficult to analyze or describe. So some people think that chakras don't exist, and yet Kirlian photography has been able to show them, just like when we originally had x-rays and people didn't believe that, and then they had the technology. So we do have that technology. The thing that's happening to us all the time, and I thank you, Yoko, for walking us through that as well, is we have these electromagnetic waves coming through all the time, and we're on these computers and cell phones, and we've got smart appliances, and all of these waves are coming through, and they're affecting us. And so all the better to learn about how we can cleanse our subtle energy body. And so through our Hong Sa technique, very simple technique, when you start with Hong Sa, if you aren't familiar with Hong Sa, then you can just, allow a nice deep breath from your belly. Elaine, thank you for doing that. And really place your hands on your belly and then draw your hands up in front, just like we would do a full yogic breath, and breathe up and stretch up like this. And then as you exhale, bring your hands down like this. And so you could start Hong Sa by actually doing this and doing Hong, which means I am, and then exhaling Sa, spirit. And so we're really bringing that spirited energy all the way down into our body. And if you look at this, beautiful sunset, think about that ray of light that's going up to the sun. And that's the spiritual eye at the pituitary gland, the positive pole. And then if you imagine yourself kicking back against this beautiful tree, you can imagine yourself kind of laying back and being supported. And that's the energy of the moon, which is the pineal gland at the base of the brain. And when we balance the two of those in our brain, so you can place one hand here and then one at the medulla, and just kind of breathe there. Yogananda says, when we balance the spiritual eye, the positive and negative pole, then it opens the Sushumna, which is the central channel. And what I like to do is consider that to be like a river or a waterfall. And imagine a waterfall coming down from your spiritual eye and then just going right down the center of your body, the river of life. And it's flowing all the way through. And if you breathe in, you sip into the pure prana that's in water, right? Water has all that nurturing quality in it. You sip into that and you draw that all the way up, and then you exhale and you allow all of that to flow. It just washes away anything that has density. And what that does is when the current of river is the strongest in your body, then you're activating the central spine that you see on this chart, and you're activating those stars. So I call that central channel the elevator to the stars. Not the stars that are out here in the sky, but the stars that are down in here, which Sri Yukteswar talks about in the Holy Science when he quotes Revelations. So the nadis that you see here that are connected with those stars that are identified at the 7 major chakras allow us to take energy up the Ida and then down the Pingala, and this is the negative and positive energy, and it's coming up through the medulla to the pituitary gland. So we're working again with the pineal and the pituitary, and then it's running back down. What happens with a lot of people is they actually are not grounded in their body, and so therefore the slide that I have with the tree is a great easy way for you to really be wholly grounded in your body and yet feeling that uplifting energy of prana, of Shakti energy. The Shakti energy is the feminine power, and the sun is the masculine power. And so we want to bring those two together in balance. And that's what, again, with the pituitary and the pineal gland do for us. A lot of people have probably seen the figure there that has the lights, but as Yoko demonstrated the chakras, and she had a diagram as well, they go out to the front and out to the back, and the crown one goes up to the top and the root chakra goes down. And so these are like the ears and the eyes of the soul. And what they do is if they get clogged, because let's say all that energy is coming in and you're getting all this mixed information from media and you don't know whether somebody WhatsApped you or messengered you or sent you an email and did I send it back on the right thing, or and then I've got to get on the Zoom call, right? Allow you to take a nice deep breath and just go and we can inhale through the nostrils, short and long, tense the whole body. Exhale, mouth and nose. What that's doing is it's taking that river of life, the prana flowing through, and it's sending it out those chakras, clearing those chakras. The other way you can do it is from the outside, like Yoko was explaining, and it's kind of like when you put your finger in the water and you start to do a little swirl. Well, you're doing a little swirl, and then like she showed us, you kind of pull it out and you throw it in that fire. Fire is what purifies and clears us out. And so you'll see that how the chakras relate to the physical body, because they work with the nervous system to communicate to the different organs in the body. And when we stay balanced at the spiritual eye and it opens up that river of life, then we're in our parasympathetic system and it's all systems go. Meaning everything, all the cells in our body, the lifetrons, the thoughttrons that Yogananda talked about, they are alive and well, or as he says, awake and ready. Makes me chuckle. So here you have the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, and so this is what in the brain we're balancing, the sun and the moon, the ha-ta. And here is a diagram of the yantra, Yogananda's depiction that shows, again, the pituitary and the pineal. And here you've got this lotus little flower here. It's not a lotus flower, excuse me, a petal here. And those swing down into the ida and the pingula, what we saw before. And so this is how we balance. And these wheels that are represented by yantras actually then spin because we've got the energy flowing. And then it also relates to the emotions, the subtle energy. So if you're having a bad day, you can kind of pay attention, or you're hurting in a particular area, you can pay attention to what chakra is maybe stuck. And then if you're practicing Ananda Yoga or you haven't, please join us. All of the teachers will teach you the amazing affirmations that Swami put together, such as I am calm, I am poised. All good things come to me. They bring me peace. And most of all, breathe. Allow your breath to be the energy like the ocean, and be the ocean. And breathe into that ocean of joy. Rise it up, exhale it, and let it go. Back out. And leave you feeling calm, cool, collected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Estara. That was great. All right. Hang in there, folks. We've got two more. Our next speaker is Guru Deepa. She's a certified Ananda Yoga instructor who's been practicing yoga for 12 years and teaching for 6. And her areas of practice are in the recovery community, consisting of pain rehabilitation as well as mental health and addiction. And she's going to be speaking about yoga of 12-step recovery. Thank you, Guru Deepa.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody who has spoken before. You know, it's a good webinar when it's leaving me longing for more. It's been just chock full of great information. So I had the pleasure and honor of taking a training earlier this spring, Y12SR, it's Yoga of Recovery, 12 Steps of Recovery, founded by Nikki Myers, whose story is just so inspirational and amazing. And she has this very deep spiritual practice and has integrated beautifully yoga with the 12 steps. And it's based on the 12 steps. So it's a nice alternative to a regular 12-step meeting. And It is an innovative mind and body practice that addresses addiction relapse prevention. So it's not to take place of an AA meeting or any of the A's or, you know, any other sort of support system that you have. It's an additional nice practice to add to your toolbox. Y12SR combines the practical tools of the 12-step program of recovery with the physical and spiritual practices of yoga. So how does it work? Well, the Y12SR model addresses addiction as a physical, mental, and spiritual dis-ease. Y12SR says that the issues live in our tissues. The body bears the burden of addiction and the effects get stuck in us. So yoga's physical practice, combining breath and movement, can help to release what's held in our bodies. And the 12-step recovery practice, the model is cognitive, or actually the 12-step recovery model is cognitive. So it's a thinking and talking practice, while yoga offers a somatic approach. So yoga itself means union, integration, and balance. Combining the two creates a model that truly addresses addiction as the physical, mental, and spiritual disease that it is. Y12SR helps people to develop body awareness, to learn to feel what is going on in their bodies, and to self-regulate. Addiction separates and disconnects people from their families, their communities, and themselves. So this Y12SR format pairs a traditional 12-step based discussion group, and then afterwards a physical yoga practice. The Y12SR meetings are open to anyone and everyone dealing with addiction, their own or the addictive behavior of others, and those people affected by living with people and addiction. So it's just an umbrella. Anybody can come. It's all inclusive, which is so beautiful, because that helps when we have various groups coming in sharing. It helps us to learn about each other's experiences and know the other side. It's really a beautiful way to heal together. There is no charge to participate in the Y12SR meetings. All meetings are offered to the community by donation. And the money that is donated is divided between the host facility, in this case will be Ananda Sacramento, and a nonprofit serving the recovery population in the Sacramento community, so that we're constantly giving back, what we receive. I just love this saying in one of the books, In All Our Affairs: there's no better way to keep our spiritual benefits than by giving them away with love, free of expectations, and with no strings attached. So we are offering the class. It's online right now via Zoom, and you can find it on the AnandaSacramento.org website under, oh great, you got it. And so right now it's the first and third Saturday of the month from 9 to about 10:30, depending on how many people are there. And we'll see how it goes, and we might add more classes depending on the need, and hopefully soon we'll be able to be together in person.
Thank you so much, Guru Deepa. This is such a valuable resource to be offering.
Thank you.
Yeah. So last but not least, I was asked to speak more generally about integrative medicine and its role. And I'm a physician board certified in internal medicine and integrative medicine, and also an Ananda minister and meditation and yoga teacher. I do research and see patients at UC Davis Medical Center, doing integrative medicine consultations. And you've heard about some amazing and wonderful practices this evening from our panelists. And I would say really all of this stuff sort of falls under the umbrella of integrative medicine. And I'm going to touch on a few things that haven't yet been discussed. And obviously, this is a very broad topic that we can't cover everything under integrative medicine tonight, but I want to share a little bit about how I think about this and some additional tools. And the terminology has really shifted over the last 20, 30, 40 years from first sort of alternative or non-traditional medicine to complementary to now integrative, with the recognition that many of these tools can be combined with conventional medicine, or that there may be certain strengths that different practices or different tools have, and taking advantage of those. So I typically think of sort of 5 broad categories of integrative therapies or modalities. And these include biologically based therapies, things like our diet, what we eat, building on what Naiswami Chandi spoke about, as well as herbs and vitamins and other supplements. These are things that actually change our body chemistry. And there are some herbs and supplements that are very good for very specific conditions. I certainly can't go into all of that tonight, but just be aware that also sometimes these things interact with conventional medications, and some of them can actually have some toxicity associated with it. So do your research or work with a professional who can help you with those. There are body-based therapies that sort of help and interact with the musculoskeletal system and our connective tissue in the body. And these are things like massage and chiropractic, osteopathy, craniosacral therapy, Alexander technique, Feldenkrais, yoga as well. Mind-body therapies, this includes meditation, yoga and Tai Chi as mind-body movement therapies, variety of different breathing techniques, some of which we've learned this evening, affirmations. These work with the mind and the spirit. There are also whole medical systems that were designed to, with their own systems of diagnosis and treatment. And these include traditional Chinese medicine, of which acupuncture is just a component of that, Ayurveda, which is the traditional medical system of India, homeopathy, and indigenous healing practices from various parts of the world. And finally, energy therapies. These can be hands-on or hands-off approaches, things like Reiki, healing touch, prayer, and the pranic healing that you heard about this evening from Yoko. And so how do you choose which of these therapies to use? Well, I'll share with you sort of how I think about this when I'm seeing someone in consultation. I do a full assessment of what are the health concerns, what is this person's lifestyle, and then usually I'll recommend more than one approach because it's often most effective for tackling health challenges from multiple perspectives. And so, for example, let's say someone has chronic low back pain. Well, depending on the details of what's going on, I might recommend dietary changes. If they're eating a standard American diet, which is very pro-inflammatory and can exacerbate pain, then I may make some recommendations for adding some more plant-based foods to make their diet less inflammatory. If there's often with chronic low back pain, there's a lot of muscle tension that can contribute to the pain. And so massage may be helpful, or other body-based therapies such as yoga. The person may have a lot of stress in their life, which is exacerbating the muscle tension. And so using mind-body techniques, things like meditation and other related tools, breathing techniques, can be helpful for reducing the muscle tension. And if there's co-occurring anxiety or depression or trauma that's contributing to that picture, then counseling and therapy may also be helpful. Acupuncture can be helpful for reducing pain. And so you can see there's many different possible approaches. And so if you don't have someone to work with one-on-one, sort of meditate on this and ask in prayer for guidance, and think about what kinds of approaches feel to you that might be the most helpful, and then pursue those. And I think you will find, as you continue sort of tuning in and listening for your own sort of innate guidance and wisdom, you will begin to get a clearer and clearer picture of how to move forward in your own healing journey. I do want to talk briefly about a couple of things. We heard about so many wonderful tools tonight: affirmations, healing prayers, healing foods, using the breath in different ways, tapping, visualization, essential oils, movement and yoga, and pranic healing and the chakras. One thing that wasn't sort of discussed explicitly was meditation. And stress is so ubiquitous in our society. And meditation and related mind body tools are really excellent for helping to reduce the negative health effects of stress. Stress contributes to a variety of different health problems. And so, for almost every patient I see, I'm recommending that they start a meditation practice if they don't already have one. And if they do have one, I'll ask them more about their practice and may provide some guidance for helping them to tweak their practice so that they can get even more out of it. And if there's anyone on here who is not familiar with meditation, Ananda Sacramento offers a monthly How to Meditate class on one Saturday morning a month. And so you can look at our website and the calendar for that. Another important technique that can be used for healing that is specific to this path that wasn't mentioned this evening was Yogananda's energization exercises. This is his own unique contribution to the science of yoga and is actually a way to bring prana or chi or life force into the body to recharge it with energy and then to learn how to direct that energy to different body parts for healing. And you can learn this by ordering a video through crystalclarity.com. I'm also going to be teaching a class on these exercises on Saturday, October 16th in the morning, and that'll be updated on the Ananda Sacramento website in the near future. So I think that's where I'm going to stop for this evening for my own portion of this. And I'd like to invite all of our panelists now to turn their videos back on. I don't see any questions in the Q&A section yet, but I would invite all of our audience members to sort of think about what has inspired you from this evening's presentations. What questions do you have? And type those into the Q&A, and I will ask these to our panelists. And while we are waiting for some questions to come in, I will also invite our panelists, since I think we've all sort of been inspired by hearing one another. Many of you have not been familiar with the work that you do prior to this. If the panelists have questions for each other, please feel free to chime in.
I just have a comment, if I could throw this out. I'm finding that as I'm searching my brain, I realize that so much has come, so much has been presented tonight, and I think it's all really, really good. And it's amazing that there is such a breadth, of things that have been presented. And I don't have a specific question. I almost feel like, and maybe this is just me, that I need to take it all in and chew on it, and then I probably would have more questions. But it's all been very stimulating and interesting.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elaine. I'm wondering, perhaps each of our panelists could just sort of comment briefly on when somebody comes to you, how do you sort of tune in to sort of or help guide someone to finding the right healing modalities for them?
Well, I'll just start. For me, there's a mixture of healing modalities that I utilize at the Radiant Health Center, and it's based on really listening to the client. What is it that they're looking for? And also the hands-on healing, really the body speaks for itself. And the people often tell you things that are subtle, and so you can just inquire. And I also I work with the brain and the brain's mapping, and so there's an immediate understanding about how this person really gathers information, processes, and makes decisions. If it's in a yoga class or meditation, really the techniques themselves do it for them, and that's the beauty of it. Meditation especially takes people to that place within themselves, that peace where they actually can listen to everything that's going on, even if it's not a peaceful place, because their brain is going, giving them all the information but they're observing it. And so that's a revelation in and of itself, because usually people are focused on trying to get something done rather than actually really observing everything that wants to come in, and then learning how to make a choice and get aligned. And then that helps them to kind of clear out, like Yoko was saying, you dump it in that fire, then people start to make that choice of, oh, not this, not that, neti, neti, neti. So they can really clear the way to focus on what they really want. So.
That's very well said. Thank you, Astara.
I have a different type of healing, but a lot of people come to me for healing with food, and they can't eat this because of, they're glycemic, they're diabetic, they're all these different types of healing problems that are happening for them. So for me, in my classes especially, I have a lot of ways to be, do a lot of research. I go out to actually look at products, read labels, and really talk about ingredients. We do taste tests. We talk about the cooking procedures that are used for different things, how to substitute in a recipe, and then of course the quality of the food that we're eating and the products that we're using. Because right now, especially people who are moving into vegan, we need to balance their vitamins and especially the protein aspect. So I give a lot of alternatives for that. And if I don't know the answer, I will spend as much time meditating on it until the answer comes to me. Or I'm in the store and something comes into my view, and I think, oh, this would be perfect for this person. So it is more of for me, it's more of a spiritual practice. It's more of a sadhana that I'm working with healing foods and with my clients who come to me. So that's kind of how I do it.
Great, thank you.
For me, being a physical therapist, I work with the body, so I wear a different hat. If I were a pranic healer, I would scan the energy and then different chakras and let them do the talking, so I get some feel for the client. Also, but as a physical therapist, I often tell people that we're walking history of our past and how they carry themselves. So the posture, how they walk. Those of you who come to me as my clients, you know that I make you walk down the hall and I observe it. And then that tells a lot. And oftentimes as the client's on the table and as I place my hands automatically being pulled to somewhere where the patient may or may not have been aware themselves that they're carrying the tension. Habituated tension comes from a variety of reasons. And so I trust my intuition and my hands to direct me to where I need to go. And usually it works.
Thank you. We've got a couple of questions that have come in from the audience. Chandi, this one may be most appropriate for you. I eat very healthy, vegan, lots of fruits and veggies, except I love sugar and sweets, ice cream, chocolates. I keep trying to quit, but just can't seem to discipline myself when it comes to sweets. Any ideas about this? You're muted, Chandi.
What comes to mind is that story about Gandhi when the mother came and said that to her, oh, my son eats all these sweets. And he goes, go away, come back in a week. She comes back in weeks. She says, what do I do, Guruji? What do I do? And he says, well, I couldn't tell you the answer last week because I eat too much sweets too. So I always love that when I hear that story. It just warms my heart. Sugar is really a hard one to kick. It is habit forming. It is a drug. I mean, it is. I remember one day years ago, one woman came in, one of our teachers at our school. She came bouncing in, and this is an older lady, and she said to me, just flat out of the blue, she said, sugar is a drug. And and I didn't know what she meant or where she was coming from, but it stuck in my mind because when we don't have it, then we want it more. The only thing that I can suggest is to use more the natural sugars, get away from refined sugars, use more of like dates in your cooking to sweeten things. Often I use, there's a lot of different types of alternatives for sugar that are better for the body. I use maple syrup. And slowly, by changing your palate, it's very, very funny. When we begin to change our palate with our food and we start substituting other things, your whole body changes and you don't crave those things anymore. So I would just slowly start to substitute some of those things. Make sure that you're eating healthy and sweets and not refined. Look at the labels. Start reading labels. I heard this from Dr. Weil one time years ago, when I started teaching. And he said that if anything you do not know what's in the label, then you shouldn't be eating it. If you don't understand what that label is saying, it's probably not that great for you. Also, anything with OSE at the end of it, I don't care if it's at the top of it or at the bottom of the label, it is sugar. There's so much hidden sugar in our diets today. So just begin to start substituting those for the natural sugars and slowly taking the refined sugars away. It's okay to have a sweet now and again. I know that for me, I make these wonderful popsicles that are just coconut milk and lime juice, no sugar. Coconut nuts and lime juice, and you put them in the blender and you pour them into, I might have put a little maple syrup, but I don't think I did. You pour it into the popsicle maker, put it in the freezer, bring it out. Oh my gosh, that was a treat for me. I mean, that was a treat. Okay, so just start substituting those. Sorry.
Right. We have another question in the chat. It's kind of challenging to stay inspired, not living near like-minded people. Sometimes I get Zoom burnout. Any suggestions? I realize Guru understands this, but I still struggle with daily meditations.
I'll just jump in real quick with a short answer. For me, there's been a lot of huge amount of change and being alone during this time. And so even though I do have like-minded people, not necessarily in presence. And so nature has saved my life, the American River, and our practices, just get into practice, do a practice, whatever it is that comes to me, and it clears that energy. It's that, again, I talked about the chakras, they get stuck. That subtle energy, the emotional field, which is in the mind field or the mind field, gets very cluttered, and so it's just good to do that, and it uplifts your spirit. And then you have another maybe hour or two that you don't miss, having that contact. Step by step.
Great advice, Astara. The other thing I'll say is that any meditation is better than no meditation. And so if you don't have the time or don't feel inspired to sit for your usual length of time, try to get in just 5, 10, 15 minutes, something, and just keeping that little bit going will help you to sort of keep that thread and not lose your practice.
Can I add something to the question about sugar?
Sure, real quick.
Yeah. I'm just gonna throw this out. There's an EMDR protocol that's actually very helpful. It's an addiction protocol basically. So it really helps with cravings, and sugar is just one of those addictions. And I've used it I've experienced it myself. It's helped me a lot, and I've also used it with clients, and it's amazing how much it helps. So I want to throw that out there.
Great.
It's called Deter, DETUR, the Deter protocol.
All right. Victoria, were you going to say something briefly?
Well, I was going to ask that. So I guess no one said it in chat. Perfect.
All right. We've got several people saying thank you. And on behalf of Ananda Sacramento, I want to thank everyone for attending this evening. I hope you found this helpful. I want to thank our panelists very much for being so generous with their time and their sharing. And I also will say that all of our panelists this evening are going to be receiving a certificate of appreciation. Let's see if I can get this. All right, with my background being in the healing power of nature, you can't see that, but you're all going to receive a certificate that is signed by Nayaswamis Dharmadas and Nirmala. I'd like to end our time together this evening by just sending healing prayers out to everyone participating here and to our planet. So let's just visualize one another connected here through Zoom, supporting each other on our healing journeys, and visualizing this planet surrounded by divine light, bringing healing to so many places where it's needed. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all these bodies, minds, and souls. And rub your hands together now. And then your palms facing outward, chanting Om 3 times. Peace. Amen. Thank you all for coming this evening. Have a good night and blessings on your healing journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.